What's up, Wizards? It's time for Rule Zero, the show that helps you prepare for the best game of Commander. It is our hope that through our combined decades of experience of playing EDH and cultivating a great playgroup, tons of great decks, and also trying a lot of outside the box variants and homebrew rules, that we can pass that golden knowledge on to you. This week, in honor of the actual release of Duskmourn, which unfortunately happened about the same time as a giant hurricane that came through Western North Carolina, I am having to push uh, back my timeline a bit, and this is a minute or two late, but it's given me some interesting perspective on the prices of these cards and how they fluctuated as compared with like the week where I wanted to release this video. So we're going to pay attention to particularly commander cards from Duskmourn that are going to be overshadowed, more off of the beaten path, but likely very cheap to pick up. And in fact, some of the prices have dropped even since I was going to make this video originally. So we'll talk about those price drops as well and what that might mean for you. Also, I wanted to make sure that most of them, 9 out of 10, are non-legendary creatures. It is very common to see EDH creators talking about the legendary creatures that come out in every set because, of course, they can be your commander and that's very flashy. But I'm honestly going to leave that to them. I think that's really neat and interesting and useful. However, I want to focus on the cards that can go in multiple decks, the cards that you'll have in your average rotation of your EDH collection. And so we're going to look at, by and large, fresh, fun, flying under the radar cards that most major commander outlets won't be able to take a look at because they're kind of pressured, I think, honestly, to take a look at the big flashy stuff over the small things. So before we get into it, what has got you excited about MTG? Take a pause and let me know in the comments below because I will be doing a random drawing of all commenters and sending out a prize, a collector boosty of Duskmourn. It's a small prize, but I just wanted to give a thank you and a gift to folks who are willing to comment and kind of share their thoughts in this public forum because I always appreciate talking with each and every one of you. Even if you have issues or complaints with sound, most people have been very kind and trying to help out, honestly. Well, I'll take it because I am a novice at this stuff. However, now on to the show. Number 1, suspended sentence for 3 and a black, an instant. Destroy target creature an opponent controls. That player loses 3 life. Exile suspended sentence with 3 time counters on it. Or you can choose to suspend for 3 for 1 and a black. And that would be rather than paying the mana cost, you just pay 2 and you kind of wait for the spell to go off. Now, don't underestimate suspend. The problem being that a lot of commanders that use suspend, particularly out of the Doctor Who decks and stuff like that, are not in black. However, there is one, and it sees a lot of play. That would be Obeka. I think Obeka decks would be wise to add this to their arsenal, but also I like the idea of having a turn 2 rattlesnake that you can play on the best creature on turn 4 or 5 or whatever it is. And every third turn thereafter, it's like, don't mess with me. I have this thing popping up, brewing in the kitchen right now, and it will take out your best guy if they try to attack me. So I kind of like this repeatable suspend effect in EDH. Similarly with like Chromantic Escape, it's a Sheldon Menery favorite card that I've been running. I enjoy that as well. So give it a look. Number 2, Polluted Cistern / Dim Oubliette. It's a room card. It's split. It's an enchantment. So Polluted Cistern, the 1 and a black side, whenever 1 or more cards are put into your library or into your graveyard from your library, each opponent loses 1 life for each card type amongst those cards. That's got a lot of build around potential. Dim Oubliette, when you unlock this door, or if you just start by casting this side, mill 3 cards. Then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's for 4 and a black. That's pretty average rate for a reanimation effect. They're almost always 5 mana, but this one lets you mill 3, which is nice, and it comes attached to this other card that says whenever 1 or more cards are put in your graveyard from your library, each opponent loses 1 life for each card type amongst them. This could be really popular in sort of decks, particularly with like maybe Baba La Saga. something that really cares about multiple types on each particular card. So enchantment creature, artifact land, that kind of thing. I think this would be a shoe-in for those decks. And as such, being such a powerful effect and being at rare, this card has jumped from 250, which is what it was going to be during pre-release or right at the release, now to $4.79, going by TCG Player Mid. So I don't know if it's going to continue to go up, but if you want this kind of effect, if you want this kind of build around, go ahead and pick yourself up a copy. Again, not financial advice, but we're just looking at the trends, right? And it's going up by about $2.29 since 2 weeks ago. So don't know where it goes from here. Next, number 3, Redress Fate. This is in the Commander decks. It is 6 and 2 white, a sorcery. Return all artifact and enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. It has a miracle cost, though. It doesn't have to cost 8 mana. It could cost half of that at 3 and 1 white. So, miracle cards are great in particular decks where you can kind of adjust or tweak the top of your library. So, if you use cards like Brainstorm, draw 3, put 2 back. I put my miracle on top of my deck. Hey, surprise, it came back. So, in those type of decks, you're going to love this effect. And particularly in decks that can use blue-white artifacts, this type of effect is only seen on one other card called Replenish, and that is a $100 reserve list card. Returning all, I think that Replenish might be only enchantments. It could be enchantments and artifacts. No, actually, it is just enchantments. So expanding this to two artifacts is not to be ignored. I think it's so much easier to fill a graveyard with artifacts anyway. So this card, I think, will definitely see play. And right now, 50 cents. That's all this thing is. You can't even buy a 12-ounce soda with that anymore unless you're getting like Arizona, like half of an Arizona can. I don't know. Pick it up. Number 4, Popular Egotist. It is a creature human rogue, a 3/2 for a 2 and a black. It has 2 different sets of text on it. The first is 1 and a black. Sacrifice another creature or enchantment. Popular Egotist gains indestructible until end of turn and tap it. So you can only kind of do this once unless you have the ability to untap it, I believe, or maybe you can just do it over and over again and the tap just doesn't take effect. Somebody correct me in that in the comments. That's why we're giving away a collector boosty anyway, so I can use you all to help me get the rules correct. Anyways, that's a super awesome ability. Sacrificing a creature or artifact to give it indestructible at instant speed. Great. Love it. Now, whenever you sacrifice a permanent, period, treasures, whatever, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This kind of effect is never to be overlooked. It is always going to be powerful and it's always going to kill the entire table. So at uncommon and for only 7 cents right now, all of you Blood Artist lovers and you dedicated treasure decks, you're going to want to get a copy of this or maybe 2 or 3. We're continuing in the color black because Duskmourn Shock has a lot of cool black cards, being as it's a set about a horrible house plane. We have Withering Torment. For 2 and a black, instant speed, destroy target creature or enchantment, you lose 2 life. It's just an instant speed way to destroy enchantments in black. There's only one other way, that is at sorcery speed. And honestly, there's controversy, of course, because the internet is full of controversy about this particular effect. The color pie, for all you newbies, used to be a thing that mattered a lot more. I think it doesn't matter quite as much anymore, and they're just giving each color different effects to kind of bolster their ability to play a well-rounded game of EDH. I have no dog in the fight, to be honest. I'm too exhausted by other controversies to care too much about this one. But there is a reason that it's $1.25 uncommon, and that's because destroying an enchantment at instant speed in black is very difficult to do and will continue to be so, but perhaps over time they will keep printing more and more. So don't expect this one to hold value per se, but for right now, the flash in the pan window in which this is the only way to do it at instant speed, it is good. Number 6. Hauntwood Shrieker for 1 and 2 green, a creature beast mutant. Now, whenever Hauntwood Shrieker attacks Manifest Dread, for those of you wondering what that is, you look at the top 2 cards of your library, you put one onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2, and the other into your graveyard. You can turn it face up at any time for its mana cost if it's a creature. So you get to pick and choose. It's better than Morph in that way, or Manifest, I guess. And then it has a second ability. It is a 3/3 for 3, which is not bad to start. But you pay 1 in the green, reveal target face down permanent. If it's a creature card, you may turn it face up. So there you go. The idea with Hauntwood Shrieker here is that you're going to hopefully put something on the board that's like something terrifying, like an Ulamog or something face down. And then for just 2 mana, you get to pop that up onto its face, and surprise, it's terrible. So we were talking about putting cards in the yard with some of the polluted cistern earlier. This creature comes out early as a 3/3 and a 2/2 and a card in said yard for 3 mana. So it does 3 different things, and the activated ability causes tons of shenanigans. It was $6 2 weeks ago. However, it has gone down to 4, and I think that's because it was seeing constructed speculation. When you see like these small creatures that have big stats or big abilities, not shocking to see them kind of get some speculation, but they look to be going down a little bit. So if they're not going to be a staple in standard right now, you might want to pick up some copies while they're a little cheaper. Do as you will with that financial wisdom, I guess. Number 7, the Roller Crusher Ride. This is one of the biggest drop-offs, honestly, in the list. I still think it's an excellent card, though, so maybe this is the time to try and pick up this Mythic before the next set comes out or something happens. Roller Crusher Ride is X2 in a red for a legendary enchantment. Delirium, if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player while there are 4 or more card types amongst cards in your graveyard, it deals double that damage instead. So it doubles damage if you have Delirium online, which in red is not too hard because you do have things like artifact lands, things that can like double up. So you only need to mill a couple things or faithless looting, or like any of the other effects that cause you to discard cards, to draw cards, to get this thing active. The next thing is when this comes in, when it enters, it deals X damage to each of up to X target creatures. So this won't be as cheap as a Blasphemous Act in those moments that you need to clear a board and you're kind of desperate. But if you're in more control and you have more mana available to you, then this can actually cause quite a bit of damage and clear out some big beaters across the table. And then it sticks around, which is kind of neat. So Blasphemous Act's great at destroying the board, but then it leaves you with nothing. This leaves you with a very potent threat, and now everything you do does double damage as long as you have that Delirium online. So it was $9 2 weeks ago, and now it is at 4. So you can kind of check on the prices and see if you think it's still trending downward. But when it starts to flatten out, maybe pick up a copy or two, because mythics typically will just hold more value over time, and there's much less of them in the sort of like ecosystem. So you can always expect that they will pick back up in value after the next set comes out and people sort of forget about these boxes. Number 8, Dollmaker Shop / Porcelain Gallery, an enchantment room in white. The Dollmaker Shop half is 1 in a white. Whenever 1 or more non-toy creatures you control attack a player, create a 1/1 white toy artifact creature token. Great, right? Porcelain Gallery, 4 mana, 2 white, 4 colorless, 2 white. Creatures you control have base power and toughness, each equal to the number of creatures you control. That each is super important. Sometimes we'll see cards that are like, well, this village elder or whatever is as big as all of the creatures you control on the battlefield, but only it is. This means all of your creatures sort of buff each other. And it's a crazy anthem effect. So it was a token maker. It's a powerful anthem. It's a must have for any sort of token build, I would think, because it just pumps all of those little 1/1s up to astronomical levels. It's currently at $650, and it was that way 2 weeks ago as well. It is a mythic, so it's going to retain that value. I might pick up a copy or two if you just start to see this hedge up or rise even a little bit, because I don't think it's going to go down anytime soon. I don't know if it's going to get to something like anointed procession levels of cost at like 40 or $50, but I wouldn't sleep on it because mythics are, like I said over and over again in this video, they do jump up in cost. And sometimes when they get to 10, 12, you're kind of kicking yourself for being like, oh, should have picked that one up. Number 9, Ghost Vacuum. It's a 1 mana rare artifact that taps to exile target card from a graveyard. Very simple, elegant effect. I like that a lot. When we're looking at some simplistic cards these days, I appreciate that they don't break my brain. However, there's a much larger text box right beneath that, and it's not too shabby. For 6 mana, you can tap it, sacrifice Ghost Vacuum, put each creature card exile with Ghost Vacuum onto the battlefield under your control with a flying counter on it. Each of them is a 1/1 spirit in addition to its other types, and you can activate this only as a sorcery. So it was $2 2 weeks ago. It is now at about $1.25. I think that it may see some play in like some constructed formats, mostly like standard stuff like that doesn't have as many graveyard hate options. But in Commander, the idea that you can get all these really powerful creatures, even if they're just 1/1 flying spirit versions, it doesn't matter too much, right? Because if you're getting Shieldred or like other crazy cards like that have these super powerful effects, I don't care if they're 1/1s or 9/9s, to be honest, because I'm not really caring about attacking too much with them. I'm just caring about the fact that they deal 2 damage every time somebody draws a card, or they make people sack creatures during their upkeep, etc., etc. Pretty powerful effect. And finally, let me talk about the one commander creature that really just had me excited from the get-go, and I think it did appeal to some people out there with a little bit more chaos in their hearts. Renma, Creaking Nest. It is 3, a black and a green, for a legendary artifact creature, Scarecrow. It has Menace and Reach. It's a 5/5. And when Renma Creaking Nest enters, and whenever you play a card with 2 or more card types, each player creates a tapped 2/2 black bird creature token with flying. The tokens are goaded for the rest of the game. So even if Renma were to leave, these birds, and I will just call it like it is, these are angry birds that the Renma is making, are just pecking away and destroying and things and sowing chaos all over the skies. This is a neat build around in that it cares about those kind of card types. So if we look at the previous cards in this list, there were a few that cared about milling things into your graveyard and then seeing what kind of types of cards there were in it. So things like Solemn Simulacrum, Artifact Creature, Enchantment Creature, Artifact Land, they will just make a bunch of angry birds and soon the skies will be filled. Well, this card was on release because there was a level of excitement for it. It just kind of seemed memey, and I love a meme. I love a good meme, and I love birds. So I'm all in. It was $6 on Card Kingdom, but only 3 to 4 on TCG Player. And now you can pick up a copy for 50 cents. The chaos and the fervor has sort of died down, but I think this is by far the funniest commander in the set. Maybe I'll even build it for the channel. So, in closing, what cards are you excited about for Duskmourn? Make sure to get your entries in for the drawing, and by that I mean just make comments below. You probably won't have a big pool. I'm not followed by that many people, so you'll probably have a good shot at winning a collector booster for Duskmourn. And who knows what kind of cool stuff you'll pick. I am eager to see. So, if you enjoyed this episode or you want to talk with me, you can find me at Rule Zero Podcast. That's the number 0 on Twitter. Or email us. And I say us because guests are also happy to hear from you as well at rulezeropodcast@gmail.com. You can like, you can subscribe if you're on the YouTubes. It's always appreciated that you leave a good review on the podcast side too, if that's where you're hearing from us. Those episodes come out one day after the YouTube videos, just in time for the drive to work, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And remember, folks, in Magic, There's no problem that a Rule Zero conversation cannot solve.